Okay, now you can hear me. All right, much better. Should be able to hear me now. Welcome! Welcome those of you from Sable's stream. I am being boarded, apparently, by the privateers. So hopefully you guys can hear me now. You seem to have stumbled into another Kahuna Quiet stream. No, I don't know why, but Windows keeps resetting my sound stuff, and so I have to keep fixing it every time I go on stream.
It's just the technology.
Just give me a heads up. You got your mug yesterday. Yes, and have you tried it out? Have you tried out the mug? Does it work? If you put hot water in, does my mug show up on your mug? That's what I want to know. Yes, good now. Great. And hopefully you hear some music as well. You have. And how did it work, Siobhan? We're waiting. It does work! Yay! All right, then. The first owner of the Kahuna mug. It works. All right, so welcome to Kahuna Help. This is where I try to help you out with issues when it comes to world building, storytelling,
technology.
Technology, says Mrs. Kahuna from the other side of the screen. She's had quite the day with technology today. They tried something new, and for the first couple sessions, it was not working. So they've got a sort of idea. Yes, even some CSS. I am not going to pretend to be I am a king of CSS. Not anywhere close. Shy Red Fox, Zog Mad Dog, Time Pool, those guys are awesome, but I can help you with some things. Especially if you have gotten onto, if you signed on to Synergasia, because there are some really tricky little things we have to do to make the CSS work for each individual region. But that's really the goal, is that each individual region can look just the way you want it to. And that can be completely different from the base world. So, yeah, we'll cover some of that. One thing, whoa, made my own little earthquake there. One thing I want to do is I want to show something that somebody had asked about last week. A lot of the banners that I use in my own world, I do a fade from one image to another. And it's actually a very simple technique. How you do it varies slightly from software package to software package, but the idea is exactly the same, and it involves using masks. Now, what's a mask? Well, when you're image editing, a mask basically says, okay, it's like laying a piece of paper over a photo and cutting out the section of the photo of the paper that's over the photo you want to see, but the areas that you don't, you leave the paper there. That's the basic idea of a mask. You're masking out the areas you don't want to see. Pretty simple, right? Well, the thing is, masks can actually be fairly, I don't want to say complex, but they can be fairly flexible. So, for example, it's not just a black section or a white section. Black is usually see-through. White is usually visible. So the white of the page, the black, you see through it. Okay? But you can make that fade from white to black. And that is what I have done. So let me show you some basic techniques. Let me go into my screen share here. And this is my, and again, I use Affinity mostly. And what I did was I just went and got off of Unsplash. I just got a couple of images. Now, one of them is our friend Yoda.
Yoda.
Yes, Yoda. Teaching photography. My Yoda is not working today. Oh my God, my voice is off today. Okay, so we got Yoda. And then what I did was I layered behind Yoda this forest image. Okay? Now, the first thing is if you're going to do one of these, opaque is a good word, by the way. If you're going to do one of these fades, the two images have to overlap. And they have to overlap sufficiently for you to be able to do this fade within the overlap. Otherwise, what you'll see is the edge of one or other of the images. And I'll show you what that looks like. So that's a forest image there. As you see, when I turn on the Yoda image, it overlaps it by quite a bit. That's good. In this case, it's somewhere around almost 300 pixel overlap. Okay? So the two overlap. And then what I did was I created a mask. Okay? And it's exactly what I said. It's basically just, well, it's a mask. The mask will go between the Yoda image, which is actually on top, and it will set actually on top of the Yoda image and only show through the part of the Yoda image that I want, and then let the rest go transparent to the image below it. Does that make sense? So you've got an image, you got a part of the image here with Yoda. On the left-hand side, I want to see his face, and then as we go this way, we're going to fade out to the background image. So the way we do that is with a mask. Now, let me add this mask in. So the easiest way to add a mask is I add a pixel layer. And it's just like that. It's a pixel. And I drop it in between the two. And depending on the software package you use, in some, you actually create, instead of creating a pixel layer, you create a mask layer. Or in some you do, like we do with Affinity, which is you create a pixel layer and then convert it to a mask. So I'm going to do that right away and say this pixel layer, I'm going to right click on it and it says mask to below. So that means everything below it is below that mask. Okay, so the mask sits above and then everything else goes through to the area below. So I'm going to say mask to below. And now I'm going to take my gradient tool. My gradient tool is just going to lay, I'm going to lay a white to black transition. It's not showing the drop-down menus. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a quirk of the way it's capturing it. It may be, in my drop-down menu, it has mask to below, but again, it depends on the software you're using exactly how that works. But what you want to do is convert a layer to a mask layer. Neither, you want it to be neither of the layers of the image. So the top one, which is Yoda, the bottom one, neither one of those should be a mask layer. It's this third layer in between. Like I said, now that you have that layer in between them, let me do that again. So I'm going to create this layer in between, and I'm going to make it into a mask layer. Mask to below, and now I'm going to use my gradient. Now you see, when I converted that to a mask layer, because it has nothing on it, nothing to a mask layer is black. So it's saying, okay, I don't want to see any of this. Now, right now, it created it below. Now, if I do this, you see here, it's showing everything straight through. It's not masking anything. So now what I'm going to do is a gradient. And the gradient, I'm actually going to start it right here about the side of Yoda's ear. And I'm going to run it across this way. And then I'm going to convert that. And then now that I've put it in there, it gave me white as a base and black, or I'm sorry, and gray as the other color. Well, I don't want gray, I want black. So I'm going to change that color to black. All right. And then I'm going to apply that mask to Yoda. In this case, what I do is I drag that mask layer underneath Yoda here. Come on. There we go. And you can see it's very bright and it's still... Oh, I did miss one thing. It's technically... The white is actually transparent. So we change its opacity down to 0. Okay? So now you can see that fade starting to happen, right? So then what you're going to do is you're going to drag the edge of this over This is not doing what I wanted it to do. I practiced this. I practiced this. Oh, yeah, okay. The fade needs to be fairly small. Okay, and this black area, we're going to retry that fill. Oof. Crazy. All right, so the black area. Oops. There we go again. See, I've made that way too big. Oh, man, put it in the wrong area. Sorry, guys. I'll get this right.
Welcome to Technology Sucks Day.
This is Kahuna is calling this Technology Sucks Day. And it kind of has, because things have not been working the way they're supposed to. So.
Google Drive, Google Classroom, all these Google Meets, your thing. It just is an effed up day.
She's just over there ranting.
Sorry.
All right, so first we're going to turn the opacity down. So now we see Yoda. And on this end, we make it white. But and now there we go. I'm just doing it backwards. Nope, still not working the right way. I didn't make it a mask, did I? There we go. There we go. That was my fault. I missed a step. So once I've created it, then I say mask to below. Now it applies the mask, and now all I have to do is adjust the edges of this until I get the fade that I want. In this case, we're going to move this way. And you see now, if you look at it now, so what I've done is I've created the gradient, and then I told it to make that the mask. And if you look, you'll see the edge of the forest is there impeding on Yoda. But if we take the edge of this gradient and move it off of that edge, you see that now it fades into the forest, and I can actually make that fade go as long as I like. The farther I go this way, now we've hit the edge of Yoda's image, and you see the hard edge. So you want that gradient to be between those two hard edges so that you don't see a hard edge in the blend. Okay? Let me go through that one more time so it'll be a little clearer, because I will be speaking properly, and that was not what I wanted to do. Let's see. Okay, so we've turned off that gradient. So again, we have Yoda, we have our forest picture. We're going to create a new pixel layer. We're going to put our gradient in. And again, because we've played with it, we know that that gradient needs to be somewhere right about there. Right? So we're going to have white at 0 opacity. And then we're going to have this be white at 100% opacity. So 0 at this end. Come on. Okay. Now that we've created that, we can say, okay, mask to below. So make this the mask for the area below it. And now we simply adjust our layering to show Yoda the way we want. That should be black. Whoops. Wrong guy. All right, well, that was probably way wrong from what you were looking for. But you can see the effect. Play with it. Find a tutorial. You have some errands you need to run. Catch us later. Okay, thanks, Siobhan. So I'm sorry that's not as clear. I'm going to, you know what? I'll do a YouTube video. But basically, what you're using is masks. For whatever software you use, look up how to use masks. And what you want is a gradient blend, basically from white to black. And that gradient blend will be how you tell the mask where you want to show how much of what image. The gray in the middle will be where you want both images equally, and then out to either side. I'm sorry wasn't clearer. I will make a video of that and make it easier for you guys to understand. So there's that. And no, I don't want to save this because I've monkeyed around with it enough and confused everybody. So, all right. Well, let's talk about CSS and Synergasia. Now, I actually have created a link. Where is my browser? There we go. So, I have created a link, an article actually, in Synergasia. If you are working in Synergasia, this is going to be a living article for you. This is going to contain different tips and tricks specifically for CSS and Synergasia. Now, why do I say that? World Anvil gives us a lot that we can do, and I mean a lot. You can go down the CSS rabbit hole forever, okay? Trying to get things tweaked up just the way you want, and then you'll find something else that you want to do. Synergasia has a slight challenge to that, and that is we have one world, but we have now 15 authors. If everybody wants to make it look different, how do we do that and still have the world itself have one look and now 15 other looks? So on the link that I just posted, you can find some of the tips and tricks to use to modify your region. The key to this is the features that we are using are guild member features. If you want to use this on your own world in World Anvil, you need to be a guild member. There's no two ways about it. Now, Bob and I are both guild members, and because we created Synergasia, then you guys have access. Because we created the world as guild members, you guys have access to all the tools. And, you know, maybe you start playing around with the stuff and realize you really want it in your world. Well, you're going to have to become a guild member. Nothing wrong with that. And, you know, in fact, I highly recommend it because you're not going to be able to do a lot of these things without it. But there's lots of things you can do. You can, for example, change the background on your pages. Let me pull up page Rabid Candy Void and I have been worked yesterday and then a little bit in the morning today to get their region set up properly. And let me pull up this is the Faceted Realms. And if you look, you saw that purple around the outside. Now all of a sudden we change and the look is completely different. The fonts are different. The colors are different. If we go to an article, let's see. Let's try here in Divine Realms. You will start to see that it's just Rabid Candy Void has created an entire section of Synergasia that has its own look. Right down to even up here, the button for the go to Synergasia homepage is changed. Everything on here is a changed color and a changed look. Everybody can have their own. So how do we do that? Well, it's a trick that is available again to guild members, and let me show you what that looks like. Let's see. Let's go to just an article. Well, heck, I can go into the article that I was about CSS. When you're a guild member, if you go into an article and go over here to the design tab, you're going to get the basic CSS and SEO stuff. We're only going to deal with the CSS stuff here. When you click on CSS, you see article CSS. Now, if you want a specific page to have a specific look, and you're familiar with using CSS, this is where you're going to enter that CSS. You're going to put that code into this page. Hello, doggo. You're going to put that into this page on this in this spot, and it's going to change it. Someone may have to do my CSS. I have zero CSS knowledge right now. Aegon, it's not a problem. We can help you.
I'm sharpening my pencil, sorry.
Oh, go ahead and sharpen the pencil. This is Kahuna sharpening a pencil. That's the play-by-play. Thank you very much. So you'll put the CSS into this article CSS. The next thing you'll do is, and this is where it's specific to Synergasia. Normally, for example, your CSS would have something like, let's say I want to change what paragraph tags are. Paragraphs are P. So normally I would say user.css, that tells it that's the section I want to work in. And then I would put a space and P. This tells it now anything under the user CSS tag, which is pretty much the entire page. Kahuna sharpens. No, Mrs. Kahuna sharpens. Mr. Kahuna flubs his demo.
I use my pencil every single day.
So you would put user CSS, which is basically anything on the page, and P for paragraphs. So every paragraph on this page will be styled as in whatever format you lay out in the code. But if you do that, every page that has this CSS will get changed. Every page, everybody's. So you can't use just .user CSS. Well, right below you'll see this additional CSS classes. This is how we indicate what we want to do in our own world. So for example, I could say, I'm going to call it Kahuna. So now, up here, I would say user.css.kahuna and paragraph. Now, anything that is labeled with user.css.kahuna, that's a paragraph, will change to what I want without touching anybody else's. So you're going to use that little tag on all of your pages to indicate that you want it to use your code. Now, we highly, highly recommend, highly, did I mention highly? That you create a test page. And this is true whether you're in Synergasia or your own world. Create a test page. You can keep it private so nobody can stumble upon it. But this page is where you're going to mess with things and break them. Okay? Because you will break things in CSS. It's entirely too easy to break things in CSS. You will do so. But what you can do is use this article CSS box to put in your code and test it to see what it looks like. You simply save it on that page, view that page, and you'll see those changes. that is an easy way to check all your code. Now, once your code is right, and again, you've used your region or your specific area to identify it, then on Synergasia, we can move it into the global CSS. If you're doing this in your own world, why would you want to have that extra tag? Let's say you have different pages that have different looks. For example, in my world, let's see if I can find a couple to kind of show you here. If I could type, we'd be in good shape, but then I couldn't do a demo this afternoon, so I'm going to beat myself up about that for days. Okay, so this is my main page. Now you can see the basic look of this page. It's got that banner up at the top. Background is these mountains. And that's the basic look. Now, let me take you to a different page. Oops. If I would have spelled it correctly, we would have been in great shape. So I'm going to look for a page that mentions cataclysm. Whoa. That's new. I've never seen it.
Welcome to Technology Sucks Day.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Uh-huh.
Technology is not behaving. I'm getting a 404 error on my own site. Oh, because I'm being a bonehead.
No, it's Technology Sucks Day.
I forgot to put a www in front of it, and so it didn't know what to do.
Oh, well, that's operator error.
Yeah, this is an IO error. Okay, we'll do it a different way because it is not behaving. Nathia. We adapt, we overcome. Yep, I forgot to add something else in there. There we go. Now we should get my home page. And now for Kahuna Help, I'm not helping much today, am I?
Welcome
I'm the
to
one.
Technology Sucks Day.
Okay, so again, you can see the background, forest, the whole 9 yards, right? Now we go to this one, the Cataclysm Blast Site. This page is designed to give you a totally different feeling of what is going on. In fact, you can see that I actually have an animated explosion in the background. It's a different header. It's got kind of a desert-like header at the top. And you can see that explosion is actually in motion. It's actually a GIF file, an animated GIF of an actual nuclear explosion. And that's what feel I wanted for this. So how did I do that? Well, in this case, I have one of those little things like where I put Kahuna before. Mine is .cataclysm. Anything under .cataclysm gets this kind of styling. So I can change it from page to page by simply changing what's in that what's in this additional CSS classes. So I test it out on my test page. Okay, that page looks the way I want it to. I'm going to call this set of code Cataclysm. I make sure all of them have Cataclysm. So like up in here, I just say Cataclysm. Down here, I put Cataclysm without a dot. And then I can move the stuff in the big box over into my global CSS for my world. And now any page that has this Cataclysm tag down there, that Cataclysm class, will automatically pick up all that styling. That's how we do it with Synergasia, is that you put in your region and then bang, all your code comes up for your pages. If you do not put your class in there, you forgot to put in, for example, for Rabid Candy Voids, theirs is Faceted Realm, so their class is faceted. If they forget to put faceted into this additional CSS classes, it'll just show up like the rest of Synergasia, because it won't know what to do with the extra stuff. Well, it won't know the extra stuff is there. It'll ignore it because it doesn't see anything classed that way. But if he puts faceted there, it immediately will change it. And that's, that's why this works so well, is that you can make these changes. But if you're doing CSS, do yourself a favor and create a test page. If you are a guild member, create yourself an extra world. That's actually what I've done. You can create multiple worlds. So create a second world that is just for testing. Because what works on an article page doesn't work on a prose page, doesn't work on a timeline. You have to style all of those individually. So create yourself a world so you can create all those things. Test the different headers and but do it there. And then once you've got that second world working the way you want, then take all that CSS you've created and copy it over to your regular world, and bang, your changes go in pretty much instantly. Now, tools for working with CSS. The number one tool that you should learn to work with is the inspect function on your browser. The vast majority of people are using Chrome. Chrome is the easiest way to do this. If you want to find out how something is classified in CSS, all you have to do is something as simple as highlight it, right click, and then click inspect. And what that's going to do is it's going to open a box to the right. And by highlighting and then clicking inspect, it will actually take you to exactly where that highlighted area is in the code. For example, in this, you can see that it's an H1, but it's a class of M-B-0. Okay? Which means that you could have something that styles your header ones, but you could have a separate one for header ones that are H1 dot M-B-0. So you could have actually two different header ones depending on where they are on the page. These classes are essentially hard-coded in. You can change the parameters of it, what it looks like, but you can't change them, the actual class itself. You could create your own classes like we did in that last one, where I was showing you that you could create the stuff and name it after your region or after a section, like I did with Cataclysm. So you can create those, but that's additional to this. So now I know that this is the class, and I can actually go down here and see exactly how it's styled. So down here, for example, it says user CSS H1. It tells me what font family it is, what font weight, what font size, and what color it is. If you are looking through down here and you see something that has been lined out, like here it says font family Jura. You see it's got a line through it. That's because something above it has superseded it. And if you look above it, you'll see that font family DM serif text has superseded it. Okay, so it's an easy way to look at it and go, oh, that's why that looks different. And if you see that you put in something but it's crossed out, now you have to go back and look at why something else jumped in ahead of it. Might have been your issue, might have been something in the CSS that we're going to have to work on. And again, you can look at .article.title. Here it says padding top and padding left. Well, that's the spacing around this H1. And notice it's in a different spot. Why? .article-title is a different H1 than other H1s. And all the different, you have all the different parameters for each one, which they call attributes. Now, the other tool I highly, highly recommend is an add-on, an extension for Chrome. I don't know if it's available for Safari, but it's called Magic CSS. It is a live editor. Let me show you what I mean by that. When you turn it on, it opens up a little box. And the box is here. And what this box does is allows you to edit the CSS. Whoops. I just moved the wrong window. It allows you to move the CSS or change the CSS on the fly on that page. So you can test something right now. So for example, let's say I want to change this header font. Well, I can go in and the first thing I click is there's a little box up here with an arrow. And what this does is it allows me to select something on the page like this. And it does, if you can see at the top, it gives me the suggested CSS selectors, what it thinks I'm trying to change. So bang, I click on this, that's the area I want, and it gives me that same list. And because I looked at the code there with the inspector, I can say, article title H1 is what I want. Okay. Let's say I want to change the font family to see how it looks. I can say font family, and it gives you auto-completion if you want. And I know that Cinzel is a font family that we have put in there. Cinzel. Why are my fingers not working? There we go. It didn't change anything. So now I know there's something going on funky that it didn't change that. Sometimes we have to do a little ugly trick. And there we go. Some features are hard-coded to where you have to tell it that if you're going to change it, you have to tell it it's important. That tells it, okay, I don't care what happens above me. You have to use me. That's bad because when you start doing one on top of the other, it can be a problem. There's some sort of program that you can create the CSS code that creates this code for you as you enter the format. I wish. There's just so much you can do with CSS. There's lots of code editors, but yeah, I don't know of something that will write the CSS for you. If you happen to stumble upon something, please let me know because I spend entirely too much time doing this. Lost on code. I get it. And that's why I think we may spend some time in a few streams going through CSS and just, hey, you guys can ask the question, hey, I'd like to do this. How do I do it? And we can go over it and everybody can see how we did it. Sometimes how we troubleshoot it. Because sometimes you'll make a change and nothing happens. Or you make the change like with this live editor and then once you apply it, nothing happens. That's a big thing. On the page that I linked earlier that has the CSS tips. Let me see. I still have it in there. Yep, I do. On that page, there's a list of things you don't want to put into your CSS code because it will break. Or if not break, it just won't work. For example, you cannot use the word container. Container is a reserved word on World Anvil, and if you use container, the back end of the system will strip it out of your code, and it won't work. Okay? Footer is another one of those words. Don't use it because it will strip it out. This is done mainly for security reasons because there are ways, if you know that you can use those codes, that you can get around the code and do nasty things. Also, for the same reason, we're not allowed to use JavaScript. So if you see something, oh, that's really cool, and it calls for JavaScript, keep walking. Can't use it. I right now have been looking at, I had a request to find something that would do the effect of a page turn, and I'm looking at how we can do that. It's some cool stuff, but most of them use JavaScript, which we don't want to use, but I am going to see what I can do because it is a cool effect. I did find one that's really cool, but it's also complicated, so I really have to kind of break it down before I show people I have to make sure it works on my world before I give it to other people and, you know, unleash them on it and have things go haywire. But this live editor is awesome because you can just change the fonts as you need. Or let's say, you know, I don't like the size of that font, so I can just say font size, and I want it to be small. Yes, I have an H1 and I want it to be small, and boom, look at that. Immediately changes it on the page, so I can see what that looks like. Oh no, small doesn't work. Let's go with XXX large, which is the thing. No, that didn't work. That's not what I wanted either. We can just go with the default H1, and that'll stay that size. Because, and why did that work, by the way? Because extra large is a specific size, and in the code for this, the H1 is set to an even bigger size by using pixels. Pixel size as opposed to the name size. I could change the color, for example. We're just going to say color red. And again, this is one where he hard-coded it, so I have to tell it it's important that it goes red for right now. And there it is. Okay? So you can test all your things in here live when you've got a combination on your page that you like. Now go ahead, copy that into your CSS and give that a test. It's a great way to test things out. It's a beginning. Okay, a lot of times you'll copy it from here, put it in your CSS, it doesn't work. Well, now we have to determine why it doesn't work when it's on the page, when it's on the actual page as opposed to overlaid here. But that's a lot easier once you figured out how you want it to look. That's something you learn, and after a while you start looking for things. CSS is very picky. A period, a comma, a backwards bracket, any of those in the wrong spot will bork your code completely. That's why I use yet another tool. And that, my friends, is called Visual Code. Let's see, I don't think I have Visual Code set up to show you. Nope, I don't. So I'll just have to tell you about it, and I will do more with that in another stream. Visual Code, it's made by Microsoft. It is Visual Studio Code, I should say. It is free. That's simple. It's free. What it is, it's like a text editor, but it allows you to save codes in different formats. You can save a code, and if you give it a .html extension at the end, it knows it's HTML, and it will actually check for errors in your HTML code. If you name it something with .css at the end, it will know it's CSS, and it will check your code for you. And it will give you a list of all the things that you've messed up in your code. I was expecting this, and you look at it and go, oh, yeah, I forgot to put a comma there. I was expecting this. Oh, yeah, I got that one backwards. Fairly quickly, you'll recognize the mistakes. I usually take it. Good night, Macaro. Have a great night. The editor I'm using to edit live, by the way, is called Magic CSS. It is an extension for Chrome. What I tend to do, I'm not sure if I found a simple one. CSS generator box shadow. Yes. So there are pieces. Out on the web, there are ways to create pieces of stuff. So that one right there looks like it's, you know what? Let's take a look at it. So let's take a look at it. Okay, yeah, so this one will help you generate a box shadow. All right? And what it gives you the code for it right below. So yeah, you can generate pieces, but one that you kind of draw into and then bang gives you what you're looking for. No, but you can use these pieces. I mean, if you notice to the right on this page, they have an effect gallery. You want to have it look like checkers? Click there, and it gives you all of that code. And that, my friends, is a scary bit of code right there. That's complicated. The pyramid, again, looks interesting. Rainbow. Okay. You can use these. The hover. I like hover, actually. Oh, excuse me. The hover is actually one of my favorite looks. So, yes, and you can find these generators. But again, remember, it's going to give you a piece. So, for example, the one thing this isn't doing is it shows you how to do the box shadow. Then you come over here and you got border, right? How do I do the borders? Okay. But then you got to go to something else to do border radius. Okay. Keep in mind that box shadow, border, and border radius can all go into the same tag. But you have to assemble it. Okay. Border radius, if you ever wonder, is what gives you those curved corners. Okay. So can you do these? Absolutely. But you're still going to have to put them together. And that's the key. So, I was mentioning Visual Studio Code. And again, it will check your errors. What I usually do is I take, especially if somebody says, hey, can you take a look at the CSS? Or if I want to take a look at my CSS, I will actually copy it and paste it into an empty Visual Studio file. Save it as CSS so it knows to look for CSS errors. And bang, it's going to give me all the errors it finds. And some of them are just me being dumb. I put a period instead of a comma, or a comma instead of a period because I fat fingered. I put an equals instead of a colon, which I do all the time. All those little things it'll find, and it tells you right down to the line and to the character of the place it found the error. Keep in mind that's not necessarily the error there. That's just where it ran into a problem because of the stuff before it. So I highly recommend downloading Visual Studio Code. It doesn't preview it for you. It simply looks at the code and gives you a way to edit it as well. I usually keep Visual Studio Code. I keep the most recent version of my code in Visual Studio Code. I will make changes. Once I know those changes work, then I will copy those changes over to Visual Studio Code, and I usually do it by copying the entire global CSS every time and moving it into Visual Studio Code and saving it immediately so I have the freshest working version in there. I do not save in Visual Studio Code unless I know it's working. So that one's really important. But yeah, I like this. The generator thing is really good. Like I said, with World Anvil, the only thing you got to be careful of is don't use anything that involves JavaScript. There's no way to run it. So there's no way to do it. So you're stuck. So I've kind of run on CSS quite a bit here. If you've got questions, toss them in now. And to answer your question, DM Stretch, this is a simple one. Like I said, this will give you the pieces that you need. And it'll help you understand it. So, for example, under font, let's see what options they give you.
You're so smart.
Here you can change font size. You can change a font, and these are pretty standard fonts. So to let you change the font, let you change the font size. It can let you change the letter spacing, the word spacing, normally considered kerning. Well, technically, letter spacing is kerning. You can do transforms. And you can even change the color. Fairly simple. Believe it or not, there's a whole lot more you can do with fonts. A whole lot. Okay. These are just some basic things you can do with fonts. There's all kinds of different transformations and everything that you can do. So this is going to be great to give you a start and to give you a basic idea. Trying to think of what else we can cover. I was just checking. We're still at 83 followers. We haven't gotten any new followers in a while. I'm sad. But I'm happy. Let's see. So, hey. Knock it off. Doggo's being a pain.
She's actually been really good today. She's getting bored.
Knock it off, doggo. He's chasing around the old guy who does not like to be chased.
He doesn't like much of anything.
Oh, here's another font one. Text Shadow. Text Shadow's fun. You can see here, these are all different versions, and all these are is different applications of the Text Shadow effect. I use a lot of these myself. They're fun. So CSS will take you a long way. If you are having an issue on Synergasia, and this is only open, sorry folks, but the offer's only open to Synergasia people because I got them into this. If you are in Synergasia and you're having problems with CSS or you have questions, you can always go onto my Discord. In the Synergasia channels, there is a CSS requests channel. Drop in your CSS there that you're looking at, and we'll take a look at it. We'll test it and see what's going on with it. Try to give me an idea of what you're trying to do and what it's actually doing, or give me a page that I can look at. Because if I can look at the page, I can figure out, okay, this is why it's not working, or fix it up for you. Like I said, it took us a few hours with Rabid Candy Boy to get the CSS ironed out, but now it looks exactly the way they want it, at least so far. And they'll change their mind. CSS is a very powerful tool, and the more you get into it, it's a rabbit hole. The more you get into it, you're like, oh gosh, maybe I should try this. So, anything else while I'm at it? I think we've beaten CSS to death for the day. When it comes to Synergasia, I gotta tell you guys, I am absolutely gobsmacked by how much work has been put in on Synergasia already. It is already over 42,000 words in about a week and a half, and over 180 articles. That's insane. That means, on average, there were 2 people who signed up today, so I'm going to say it was only 13 people. So, on average, you're looking at what? 10,000? No, not that much. 5,000 words per person? A little less than that. 4,000 words per person. And article-wise, 10, almost 15 articles per person on average. Absolutely amazing, you guys. So proud of you guys, because this is, didn't know how well this was going to work, and man, it looks like it's working. Always remember, if you are publishing, and this is true for any World Anvil world, when you publish, if you want others to know about it, you must go into the advanced options on that page, on the edit page, go to the advanced options and click notify followers. If you do not do that, 2 things don't happen. 1, they don't get notified. But 2, and this is kind of a hidden one, if you don't do that, it doesn't update your recent articles list on your homepage. So that could be a brand spanking new article and it doesn't show up in recent articles. Why? Because you didn't hit notify followers. Do that when you publish a page. It will update recent articles, it will notify your followers, and people will get to go and see your new content. Side notes. I'm always looking for stuff to read on Sundays for Kahuna Reads. Let me take a quick look here, see if I have anything in the bucket yet. I don't think I do, actually. Maybe one. None. I have nothing in the bucket. So if you have an article you'd like read on Kahuna Reads on Sunday, drop a link in my Discord. That one is open to everyone. Go into the Kahuna Reads channel and drop it there, along with, if you'd like. I'm sorry, did you say something?
I heard pounding, and I was wondering if it was you.
Might have been my desk.
Okay. Could you not pound?
I'm still in a stream.
I know.
Mrs. Kahuna jumping in on me here.
You love me.
I still love you, yes. And I have a cold burger downstairs.
It microwaves well.
Anyway. Yeah, I have none in there. So if you have something you'd like me to read, go ahead and drop a link in there. And if you want to give me a challenge, give me a voice. Last time around, I had to do an imitation of Eliza Doolittle. I had to make up a goblin voice. Jean-Luc Picard and Severus Snape were some of my reads last Sunday. So that was a lot of fun. So if you want to, it's the same time as this stream, just on Sunday, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. And I will be happy to accommodate all those. I'm not seeing any questions popping up in the stream chat. So I'm guessing we're kind of just chill. And everybody's kind of good with this, or kind of just absorbing, or thinking, my goodness, he doesn't know what he's talking about, which is entirely possible. I admit to nothing. I accept nothing. So, if I guess I'm going to call it quits and go eat my cold burger now. So thank you for coming to the stream today. Let's see who we're going to go and raid here. So it looks like either Harold's Table or Roll Society. Roll Society, I guess, started a little early today, so they might actually be up. I should always check. I should always have Twitch up, but having Twitch up really slows things down. So I wonder if Harold's Table is up. You know, let me check. Because I like giving it over to them. Whoops. Twitch.tv. Harold's Table. See if he's up. Survey says a reminder, folks, our next stream will be Friday. Friday is the the Kahuna Happy Hour stream. I haven't figured out a purple drink yet. I've had some suggestions, but I haven't got one. We want a purple drink to celebrate Synergasia. The Harold's Table is not online. Let's try Roll Society. Well, Aegon, you were here. Are you still here, is the question. Nope. It says next stream is tomorrow. So, who else can I raid? Let me log in real quick. See if I can figure out who to raid. Another reason I don't like getting Twitch up is it forces me to put in I do the two-factor authentication, and it forces me to add the extra code, and it's just, I have to wait for it to come in and all that stuff. And here it comes, because I, hey, what's the code? Let's see if there's anybody else we can bug this afternoon. Dire Bear GM is not an ASU, but they're an Ambilight streamer and they're up. Okay. Then that's who we're going to go to. So it is going to be Dire Bear GM. Thank you, Sable, for helping out on that. Whoops, I got to do a raid thing here. Dire Bear GM. All right, folks. Off you go to Dire Bear GM. Give him a big ol' aloha from me and all of the Kahuna crew. And I will see you guys on Friday for Kahuna Happy Hour. Have your adult beverages ready, and we'll kick off the weekend. What?
Yay!
Yay! Adult beverages. Have a great time, guys.